Hello, America. Welcome back to the Great American Game. I am Hazelton Fields III.
I'm Hazen Fields II.
I'm Lex.
And this is Various Fields. How are you doing, interwebs? It's good to see you. For us, it has been some time since we've been behind the recording booth, if you want to call it that.
Yep.
So we're kind of shaking up our wires and cobwebs off of us, right? But it has been a very eventful time in this month of February.
Baby. Yes.
But at the very least, we're going to try to keep it a little loose or a little fun and talk about Kendrick Lamar, actually.
Kendrick Lamar.
In the halftime show, because even though we're in the very beginning, I think it's just good to talk about well, not so much at the end. I think this was like, if anything, in terms of games, this was like a full-on checkmate.
Now remember, I like to do the timing thing because people, when they're watching this, they're going to be saying, "Why are they talking about the Super Bowl now?"
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So just to let you know that we are speaking to you from the past and your future to talk about our current future past,
Indeed.
which is still the present.
Yeah.
There you go.
We record and probably put out an episode 4 weeks after recording, give or take. So everyone's going to be seeing this most likely in April, and everyone's like, I've already seen the Super Bowl. And again, we're not sports people, but when it comes down to music and everything like that, I think particularly for this pulp culture, I love that. I think particularly for this Super Bowl, I think it just caught everyone's attention.
Absolutely.
Right. And it has so many layers, so many levels played. And it was a beautiful production all in all. So I think that's the reason why we're hitting it up right here.
Right. And one could argue at the time you're seeing it, let's say that it probably becomes relevant once again.
Yeah.
All right.
I was going to say, I think that does actually tend to happen with some of our stuff.
Indeed.
Yes, and then it becomes, we double up a little bit.
Indeed. We absolutely do. So let's talk about it, as they say.
All right. I guess we can do this in parts of both in the production and then the refined meaning within each one of the songs. To be fair, I love Kendrick Lamar, but every single time, particularly now after the whole feud between Drake and Kendrick, right, there has been more and more reading into his lyrics. And he's always been a thoughtful lyricist, right? But even more so for the selections of the sonnets that he's picked in each individual segment of this game that he's playing in this game, right? But starting off with the very ideology of it being a game, I like the fact that he had it set up in the PlayStation, configuration, thank you, of the square, the triangle, the X, and the circle, right? And how it all, apparently one of the things that he threw in there was having it be a full armor, full health pack cheat code upon opening up the sequence to the game's beginning, which I thought was fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a reference to, I'm pretty sure, GTA. And in GTA, the combination of how it popped up on the thing is essentially akin to what is considered God mode in the game, where if you use that cheat code, you become invincible, no one can hurt you, you can do all the damage you want in that game. So that's, again, another subtle reference to, he's yo, I'm going in, I'm going hard, this is the thing. And all this stuff is game in terms of referencing the game of hip-hop, referencing the game of Super Bowl that he's in now, referencing the game / the game being over with his actual B/rap B/ disses of Drake. That was from the top, but again, subtle connections that if you know, you know. If you don't, you figure it out. Or you might never know, but also it's not for you then.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's such an honor to be playing in front of the president himself who attended that game.
Wow. And please tell me, were you being sarcastic about the president being there in an honor?
No, from what I'm aware, he was actually in that game.
Was it?
No, but I'm talking about the honor part. The honor part, because I'm very sensitive at this point.
No, yes, that was sarcasm. I'm sorry. Sometimes my delivery is very straight.
No, I just want to make sure because. So everyone that's watching me, I say watching me as though there's not two other people here, but I like to believe that various fields present you with 3 points of view, so to speak, based upon our age, our various statuses and things like that in terms of, well, not status that way, but, you got an age and, this younger. He's a married man and he's a young single man and I'm an old married man. So reason why I'm saying that is because those people who are from my side of the table, if you had the same situation with me, I didn't see anything but my relevance. And I felt like a goldfish looking, like, how you see a goldfish in a bowl?
Yeah.
And the world passes by him. And I'm saying, I'm not relevant at all. I don't understand. I didn't, everything that we're talking about, I had to research.
Right.
Because Kendrick Lamar is not a part of my, I guess you could say, my normal listening to.
Right.
I had the fortune of being I was in a play recently, in this area, in this upstate New York area. And I worked with a lot of young people that knew a lot. And they had offered to make me playlists and things like that so I can learn about it. So I was learning about all that which I saw. You guys right here, genius, telling me about the PlayStation cheat codes. Never, but I felt honestly like what are these things these humans do? So I had so when I was listening, see, when and I don't mean to take over, but when Prince was doing his show, I would hear the intro and I'm like, oh my God, he's about to play.
Yeah.
There was nothing, with the exception of They're Not Like Us, which I just became familiar with, because of what's going on. And also, I didn't realize he wrote Sit Down and Be Humble or whatever it is. And I was like, so when those things came up, I was like, oh, I have some familiarity with that.
Captain America, I understand that reference.
I was going to say
exactly. But really, while it's going on, my life was going in slow motion, and I was hearing in the back of my mind, kiss the day goodbye.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Forget about tomorrow. It's just, it's just
that was his backtrack. That's crazy.
No, but I'm just saying, it was just things were going in slow motion. I really thought about my relevance, and even though I recognized that what he was doing was genius, I respected the political side of it, but that's how I'm just saying. From my age, I don't know if anyone else is like hip in 61 and like, oh, Kendrick Lamar is my man. Kendrick Lamar, I had to go, yes, I can say the name.
All right. Well, at the very least, if Kendrick Lamar is a little out of your wheelhouse, at the very least, did you like the placement of Samuel L. Jackson in his role?
I had to understand it more because you got to understand I was overwhelmed by what I did not know.
Gotcha.
So those things that I did recognize, Samuel L. Jackson being one of them, it's like, oh, Samuel L. Jackson, I know him, but why is he
playing Uncle Sam?
Is it like his Uncle Sam? Get it? I don't like Trump. All that stuff. But it was like trying to piece it together. But it was like,
like some stuff because you knew and stuff that you didn't, but you might be over-reading or under-reading.
I really had to play Monday morning quarterback.
That's funny.
After that Monday morning or something like that, to try. And then it was like, oh, yeah. And then, of course, as I've been hearing more and more about the things that I saw and recognized, I was like, okay, I appreciate his position.
Right.
But I really focused on me. I was really being
that's fair. I think, like, I it's interesting because I'm not sure. This is actually more of a you question. I don't think we grew up in like a hip hop household. Like we grew up in a musical household. We definitely grew up in a gospel household, and I think there's a general appreciation of music altogether.
Indeed.
So therefore, there's nothing. When I say we didn't grow up, it's not like we're against it. It's not we don't like it. Things like that. But I don't think I've ever been like massively rap culture person. I don't think I'm even in general with pop, even in terms of recently. generally pop culture person now. Like usually it's in the same position. Even when I was watching, I also had to catch up with some stuff. This is not all stuff I knew while I was watching. In fact, I should tell people this. I did the nerdiest thing ever on Super Bowl. We both did. Because myself and my brother, we have a D&D campaign that we're playing with friends.
Okay.
And we do, and the way we set it up, we do like every 2 weeks or something on Sundays and stuff. So it landed, our D&D campaign landed on a Sunday, on the Super Bowl Sunday. So we played D&D on Super Bowl Sunday. We watched it after. Like we watched it after.
I got you.
After, which is, I just thought it was like very fun. It's like hard to be nerdier than playing D&D.
Like normally I actually go for the Super Bowl just for the
No, I watch
commercials.
Super Bowl normally, yeah.
Right? But like oftentimes I only, like for the game itself, I normally am like only tuned in for like the last quarter.
Right.
All right. And I'm like, all right, so who's the opposition? Who's everyone rooting for? And can I root for the enemy and see if they win at the very last time?
Right.
That's how it is. That's how I
Yeah, underdog one.
Yeah, that's how it
But
is.
to get back to what I was trying to say earlier, it's like we didn't grow up like in a hip hop household. And I think that's a lot of one of the difference of the Super Bowl is like there's a lot of, I want to call it lore, history, context in general to like understand everything. Like I didn't know about the whole oh my God, who is crip walking on
It's Serena Williams.
Serena Williams,
thing,
yep.
Serena Williams thing. I didn't know that Serena Williams and Drake had dated prior to this.
Okay.
Right, and so like then I saw Serena Williams crip walking, but I was
Right.
cool. But then I was like, oh, it was more like, oh, cool, Serena Williams.
Right,
Now,
right, right.
now, with that in context, apparently, this is
Yeah,
again, I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like you know, that wasn't necessarily an absolute dig at
Yeah.
Drake himself. I understand that she also was kind of talking to the Wimbledon places.
Yes, 'cause I think-
she crip walk
Yes.
after a match and she received
in
some
her career,
backlash.
yeah.
So there was also a wink and a nod
Yeah.
to that to suggest that I have the ability to crip walk wherever I desire, I would imagine.
I think, and to tie it all together, because the original concept, by the way, for the people, if you're enjoying this conversation, please like, subscribe, and hit all the buttons, because I want to let you know the original conversation for this was definitely Black History Month related. And I've been hearing a lot of people saying this is one of the, in a positive way, one of like the blackest halftime shows they've seen. And I think in terms of avocation and things like that, which is, I think, I don't know, it's hard to be like, hey, this is the blackest by what measure? But I will say
Right.
that I think it's cool to be like, this felt like a celebration, and as much as like the context and what people are looking for pop wise was like, oh, this is a Drake diss track. We're all waiting for the They're Not Like Us or the Say Drake, which we'll get to.
Right.
We're all waiting for those moments. But from the top, from the whole thing, Kendrick kind of made his statements about like what this is. He even said like off the jump that like essentially like if some people might just be here for the music, but it's bigger than this.
Absolutely.
And I think that whole thing is Serena Williams, because it's not just Serena Williams crip walking. Like we already knew she was down. That her being able to do like anything isn't that surprising. But also a Black woman expressing her joy at such a national level
Yes.
and being able to be protected by other Black men, women, dancers, artists, all that kind of jazz
Right.
on such a national stage, with also the top of it being a subtle as the Super Bowl can be jab at the actual president of the United States.
Indeed.
Is incredible.
Yes.
You know?
And it was. I understand he was rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs. First of all, just back to the audience. I am guaranteed that there are those who are from the hip hop culture who understand hip hop for real, and those who are in sports understand sports for real, are looking at us and going, oh my God, this is the nerdiest rendition of anything. We recognize that. It's really not our wheelhouse, but it's a part of pop culture. It's something where I know you guys are going, oh my God. I'm sure I'm saying Kendrick Lamar with too many syllables or something like that.
K-Dot.
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 Is that right? Okay, we'll go on.
No, he doesn't like acronyms. So
Yeah, just Nels, are you shaking your head at us right now? Are you? No, not at all.
Right.
We'll go on.
No, I was saying the one thing that actually stuck out to me is bringing it back to Samuel L. Jackson is because I know he's played a variety of different roles in his history. Great actor. Wonderful actor, right? We know him as Nick Fury, right? But like one of the many things,
Yeah,
right?
right.
All right, but another thing that I've also find it interesting, particularly for the Super Bowl competition, is because his portrayal of Uncle Sam, right, was almost it was an interesting back and forth.
Yes.
Of his depictions of a lot of Uncle Tom characters that he's played in the past.
Right.
You know, like if you dress up in the colors, right?
Yeah.
This is the respectable. This is the expected portrayal of how people ought to see you, how you need to. Like, and he's been checking Kendrick Lamar's presentation throughout the entire time.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, this is way too loud. This is way too ghetto. This is the way America wants it to be presented, right? So I'm dressed up in the colors as you need to. I am the nation's Uncle Sam, right? Which is, in which case, in his present form, felt very much Uncle Tom to me. You know, and like, he's portrayed one as such in Django Unchained, right? And you know, almost funnily enough, something that was akin to that was I actually recently watched the RoboCop rendition. I think it was in 2000.
The new one,
the newer one,
yeah.
right? In which case, he became kind of like a not a David Letterman, but like kind of like a. Like I'm trying to remember, like a news anchor that's something
Fox
like that,
News
like
host.
a Fox News, something like that, right? He was very pro robot, getting getting what you call it, mechanical soldiers out in the streets, based on a push for a lawsuit to be removed.
Gotcha.
Right? But the way he's saying, like, oh, like the Senate's very pro-crime and everything like that. So he was just kind of like very much fake newsing the entire thing about like how good this could be for America, even though the situation was not good for one American, you know? So I just found it very interesting, like his portrayal of Uncle Sam was just, you know, just almost like a back and forth mirror. Look at yourself. This is what you're looking for, but it's not really that, right? It felt out of place, but in place.
May I try to bring some more worlds together?
Yeah, please.
All right. Well, this is what I'm starting to find out about Kendrick Lamar with all of the text and subtext. I saw the utilization of African American males to create the red, white, and blue flag and various things was almost like those who have built the flag have been forgotten by the flag. You almost have to. It's Shakespearean in nature. I'm going to give Kendrick Lamar a nod towards Shakespeare because those who are familiar with the tragedy Hamlet recognize there was a conversation between Hamlet and Polonius is one of the characters, and they're both wordsmiths in their self. So Hamlet, in his back and forth with Polonius, would utilize various types of wordplay, and it would be context under context, thereby making Polonius, things were going over his head, but Hamlet was, spitting bars, as it were.
Historical rap.
Yeah. So those who are familiar with that kind of looking at, I suggest you to look at Kendrick Lamar with a Shakespearean kind of mindset, because I think he really did a very good job with Samuel L. Jackson and so many other subtext things that were being there. You can continue to watch it on the other side, like an airplane movie, the old Airplane. If you watch it again and again and again, you'll find other things that are there buried underneath.
Absolutely. I think that is the fun thing. 'Cause actually, I think I've only watched the whole halftime show once full through, and then everything else has been like clips and stuff. So I need to watch the whole thing a couple of times. But just talking about and it is funny because there's one of those things where it's like some stuff are, because you know who also did something I would say similar, not on this level, but similar, was when This Is America came out by Childish Gambino / Donald Glover. You guys remember that? And a lot of people try to do interviews with him. It's like, hey, what does this mean? Or this kind of stuff. And he, for most part, refused to answer. He was like, whatever you think to take out of it, what do you think that's
Yes.
And I think Kendrick Lamar also does that, but also always find that's a fun thing you can kind of do as a talented artist.
Yeah.
Which is just like, oh, what did you take out of it? I'll never tell.
Right.
That was their take. That was
like
yeah, definitely.
I love that.
But I think that's something he also deserves to get from it, because there again, I'll reference, and this is just a great comedian that did a summary of what his thoughts on the Super Bowl was. The comedian called Josh Johnson.
Oh, Josh
which
Johnson,
I like a lot. I would suggest anybody who's also watching our show, please like and subscribe. Please also check out their channel.
Oh yeah, we didn't do that. Yeah, like and subscribe.
Oh, we did that. I did that.
We did do it.
You did do it? Oh,
Yeah.
But
But we'll do it again. Like, share, and subscribe.
We're coming up on a year. We're about to celebrate our year. Can we get a hooray or
Absolutely.
a clap or
Huzzah.
something like that? Hooray. a lot of buttons there.
That's it.
All right. But yeah, we're coming up on a year. We'd love for you to, we got to come up with a name for those people who support us. I think that's, I think we
Our various fans.
Yeah, various fans. Yeah, we I know I dabbled with saying Fields hands, but we no. Okay,
So funny.
not good at all.
I never thought about that.
Never
So
thought.
funny.
But yeah, we don't want to do that. But anyway, so please like and subscribe, and we'd love to have you.
Oh,
I'm sorry about
know,
that.
that's good.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Still Black History Month.
Yes,
y'all.
indeed.
Still February.
It's still February.
but yeah, the comedian Josh Johnson made a comment that I liked a lot that summarizes not just Kendrick's performance, but any performer, any artist, and I would say anybody that dabbles in revolution or fighting back or even political statements, things like that, which is saying, I'm summarizing here, art can save your life, but entertainment can never save you. Which I think is a very interesting thing, which is like kind of the difference between because a lot of people some people commented on Kendrick's performance being like, if he was going to do that, it wasn't enough. Like if he's going to he should have made a whole statement and done this and stand it up. And he said Kendrick's not Kendrick says he's a rapper. Like this is what he is a performer. He's like, this is not a job. He's going to talk about what his feelings are and his things and make comments because he's just definitely not someone who shies away. But he is ultimately an artist. He's an artist and all that type of stuff. But when you are in the lens of the Super Bowl, when you're in the lens of also performing, we're in the lens of this is also your job money, that's going to be also how can I entertain the masses? And entertainment alone through that lens isn't going to be the thing that starts people moving. You know? It's the artistry of it that can, but not the grand fare of everything. And I think that's a good point because also I think people look for leaders or styles or things like that to be like, hey, this is the moment to say it. But arguably, there are always moments in both art, history, or politics to stand up for right and what's to continue. But I don't think expecting it from one source to be the everything is a reasonable expectation when that's not how any type of revolution, any type of political statement, any type of truth-seeing really works, not through the lens of entertainment. And I think that's a good take I haven't heard before. The difference between artistry and entertainment.
No, and I know we were talking earlier about that whole taped banana on the wall and how that sold for billions, right? And I think the reason why it stayed so relevant for so long is because people were talking about it, were posting about it. It became immediately memeable, but the conversation persisted, and that's where the art was, right? Not so much in the fact that anyone can go to a produce section and anyone can go to a hardware section and make it, right? But more the fact that was considered art, right? And that conversation had people question the line, and very much so, Kendrick Lamar is having everyone question the line by allowing them to draw their own conclusions to what this could mean, right? Like, mind you, there have been a whole lot of breakdowns from a lot of different channels, from a lot of different sources, a lot of different people saying, oh, I got this. But the only one who understands the full interpretation of what it ought mean is the artist himself, or Kendrick Lamar. And then it's up to interpretation for everyone else to get the conversation going.
Indeed.
And that's the whole point of art.
Yeah, I like that take on it because to me, if the artist finally makes a full, complete sentence and or paragraph about what he has meant, then the conversation more or less ends. But if he's silent about it, then it still becomes relevant and still, we're still talking about it. And I like that concept of the art speaking for itself to those who are watching it. I think we've mentioned this one time before. Those entertainers back in the days of kings were court jesters, which were royal appointments. And these people, although considered to be quote unquote fools, they were actually utilized to speak the hearts of the masses because they had the ear of the king. So therefore, there are those who would look at rap artists and all kinds of artists, speaking in that big, gigantic stage. And one may argue the Super Bowl's halftime show is a stage that everybody watches. So what do you say within that, 25 minutes,
Exactly.
30 minutes.
Exactly.
What do you say and how do you say it?
Right.
And if you're the quote unquote court jester who is actually the voice of the people, what can you say? And I think he did a fantastic job of saying so much.
Yes.
Right.
While at the same time taking a little jab at his, adversaries.
Yes.
But cleverly done.
Absolutely.
And now I'm watching TikTok things that are still doing the
exactly.
dances and stuff like that. And I feel very good as an older person. I can actually do the Kendrick Lamar walk.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I actually, the back
bell-bottoms?
end. Well, it's not so much that. It's just that that's how I normally stumble about.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, very good.
But no, it's funny that you did that. I will also say, and this is another thing I was watching, where it's like, I'd also say, like, yes, the big, I think the focus thing, if you get into also half the reason why he was picked for the Super Bowl is that the rap beef was so public between him and Drake. And what is funny, the G&X album was mainly that performance. That was the name of the album that like most of the songs, with a couple of references like Humble that came up from different albums. And then the quote unquote They Not Like Us song, and that wasn't part of the album. That was just part of like the singles that he pushed out as during the rap beef, which is to me very impressive because that's within a short time span of it was like literally just this last year essentially is when he released this G&X album and the rest of his discography wasn't really in there.
Right.
But I find it interesting because the They Not Like Us song specifically, yes, it's supposed to be a quote unquote at or burn or Drake or whatever the case is, but at this point I think the They Not Like Us aspect is very universal. And yes, in that song you do have the say Drake. But at the same time, it's for, I think, anyone else who understands not just culture, and I think even people in this concept, it's not even, it's not just black people. It's not black culture. It's just for the idea of like, when you can tell, in fact, it's not just black people, but also showing Samuel Jackson's playing Uncle Sam.
Yes.
The They Not Like Us kind of rendition. And I think having that active contrast of him, I think, opening the show with you picked the right time with the wrong guy. Yeah. It was very, like, a whole bunch of things.
Yeah, so many things. Yeah.
Something I liked a lot with, and this is my takeaway from one of the things, is the red, white, and blue, like you said, from all the other performers, dancers, choreographers that are there. But something that he also did during this beef with, I'm pretty sure it was also They Not Like Us, was the same song, was he was actually nobly, I think, in LA, essentially bringing about a whole bunch of people who allegedly were part of gangs and different affiliations, I think that would be a part of the Crips and be part of the Bloods, on the same stage and unifying them through song. That was something he got a lot of acclaim for during his this rap beef when he was more popular during this year. And also, I thought that was interesting by dressing everyone up in red and blue and having the center line be white and because I think like just the idea of connecting everybody through America, but people don't see people of color / black people specifically always in the American lens. I mean, so I think also being like, hey, we are like kind of reframing the idea of Crips and Blood and gangs and that darker vision or like that stereotypical vision that people have of African American men and being like, this is representative of America. We are also America. Was a nice little flip while still having Uncle Sam being like, I don't know, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. Like, I'm going to do it anyways.
Right. Very good.
Without saying it, you know?
Yes.
And I just think, like you said, there's a lot of things that can be taken away from it. I think, this is not, by the way, really not, this is not a promotion of him as an artist individually. I don't necessarily care. I want it, but I'm saying it like this for specific reasons. Like, I'm not saying it just to be like, oh man, if you didn't like the Super Bowl, that's on you. It's not a big a deal. I am saying, I think for people who didn't, I would reconsider rewatching it again. Think about all the same things. Think about the memes and stuff. I think there's a lot more there than some people are giving it credit for. And for the people where it didn't meet the tone and didn't meet the match, I think think about all that can be said without speaking rather than what is said directly.
Right. There was a lot of people that were calling it mid. There were a lot of Drake fans that were saying, oh, this is the weakest performance that I've seen in a while, right? And again, like just going back to that other line that was in there, like 3 acres and a mule.
Yeah,
right?
40 acres and a mule.
40 acres, thank you very much. 40 acres and a mule. This is bigger than the music, right? It was not just about that promise, but it was also about like, there's so many other levels you can hear this from, right? If you just take it from one, then you're missing out, right? If the music itself becomes the mule in which you're getting this message, all right? If it's being the one that's carrying it out, then yes, this is a medium that you need to like kind of like watch and over and not to not stand for anything underrated. All right, just watch it, take it for the levels that it is.
Well, I just want to say this to all the people that are watching us. I am so proud that we were able to talk about something that really out of our wheelhouse is talking about sports, so to speak, the Super Bowl, and also the rap community, which we do talk about musically. But but there may be other podcasts that are doing similar things, talking about this time. But we just want to let you know they not like us. They not like us. They not like us. They not like us. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here at Various Fields and Kendrick Lamar, bravo. I don't know if you've ever had bravo said to you in the rap context, but congratulations to you and all that you do. And everybody watching, thank you for watching. I love you guys.
And if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan and a Drake fan, I'm sorry.
Encore. See y'all later.
See y'all later.